All right, today we're going to be learning about subordinate clauses and subordinating conjunctions. It sounds very hard, but it's actually very simple. It's something that I've actually told you about last semester. And if you remember, I said we're going to talk about it next semester. Next semester is now. So we're going to talk about it. As we all know, oh, actually, before we get into that, I want to show you something really cool that I found online. I added it to Moodle. Here, it's a syntax tree generator. So if you're interested in syntax trees, you can enter a sentence and let it build a tree for you. So for example, a sentence, and then for each word, choose a part of speech. We is a noun, went is a verb, home is a noun, after is, let's call this a preposition. If it's wrong, it'll tell us it's wrong. Class is noun. And then at the bottom, you get a tree, right? So the head is we, and then the main verb is went. Where did we go? We go home, preposition after, and then class. Isn't that cool? So as long as your grammar is correct and you use the deep structure so you don't move things around unnecessarily, it will give you a tree, and you can analyze the sentence to see which parts go together and which parts can be moved. So for example, if you want, you can move after class to the front of the sentence because it's a different part of the sentence than the went home part, right? You can see it's two sides of this tree. So if you're interested in syntax trees, knock yourself out. Right here. Okay, subordinate clauses, subordinating conjunctions. So as we know, the basic structure of the deep structure of an English sentence is something like this, right? Subject, verb, object, and then everything else. The everything else can be literally anything other than the subject, verb, or object. Some verbs don't take an object. It depends on the verb. The everything else can be like time, place, condition, tool, companion, counterfactual, just anything you can think of belongs at the end of the English sentence according to its deep structure. So let's come up with a random sentence. You guys know I have a hard time with examples. We went home after the teacher said we could go home. Said, well, that's a bit too complicated. After the teacher left. Okay, so subject is we, verb is went. In this case, this isn't an object, it's a complement, but you do need to tell us where did you go. So this is the main part of the sentence. And then this is everything else. After, right? It tells you the time that this thing happened. Now, today, we're going to talk about if this part, the everything else part, includes a complete sentence. The teacher left is also a complete sentence, right? The teacher is a subject, left is the verb, you don't need an object. This is a complete sentence. So in fact, what you have is subject, verb, object, and then the everything else itself includes a subject and a verb. Sometimes it has an object. So we're talking about what happens when the everything else includes a complete sentence. You've seen this a lot. So like the first example was time. Another example is examples. examples. So this would be a condition, only when, right? This has to happen in order for this to happen. It's a condition. Same thing, right? We is the subject, had is the verb, lunch is the object, and this is everything else. In this case, it's a condition. Inside this everything else, you have a complete sentence. The bell is the subject, rang is the verb. You don't need an object. This is a complete sentence. So it's still this structure. The fun thing about this kind of sentence is in English, you can move the everything else to somewhere else in the sentence. As we saw earlier with that syntax tree, it's a separate part of the sentence. So you can say like, only when the bell rang, well, okay, not this one. You can say after the teacher left, we went home. So it's the same structure, but now you've simply moved the everything else to the front. And to tell the reader that you have moved something, you need to add this comma, right? So there's now a comma here to tell the reader that you're not beginning with the main subject, you're beginning with the everything else. Unless you're British. British people have a very inconsistent use of commas. But for American English, you should add the comma. So far, so good? Questions? So again, the name of today's unit is Subordinate Clauses and Subordinating Conjunctions. It's subordinate, which means less than, because this part is not the main part of the sentence. It is less than the main part. If you add this everything else descriptor, right, after tells you the time, only when tells you the condition, if you add this part, then this part is not a complete sentence. It includes a complete sentence, but this entire part is not a complete sentence, right? Only the part inside the brackets is a complete sentence. If you add that connector, it is no longer a complete sentence. So it is subordinate, less than a complete sentence. In fact, we can call this a conjunction. A conjunction is a part of speech that connects two parts of the same sentence. That's why the unit is called subordinating conjunctions. These conjunctions connect a lesser part of the sentence with the main part of the sentence. Now, there's one subordinating conjunction that many non-native speakers of English and even native speakers of English will forget is not a complete sentence. So, for example, we fell asleep because we were tired. Subject is we, verb is fell, the complement is asleep, and then this is everything else. Because tells you that this everything else is a reason. And inside of this everything else, we have another complete sentence. We is a subject, were is the verb, it's a verb, and tired is the complement, the adjective. But this is a complete sentence. Here's the key. This is not a complete sentence. So if you begin the sentence with because, this is not a complete sentence. It's a reason. You need to finish the main sentence. Now it's a complete sentence. right? So another way to say this is, we were tired is a complete sentence, but because we were tired is not a complete sentence. Because you have told us that this entire thing is not a subject verb object, it's a reason. Questions? Okay, so there are many kinds of subordinating conjunctions, too many to memorize all of them. It's easier to remember that if you see what looks like two complete sentences in the same sentence, then this middle part will be a conjunction often. And if it tells you that this the rest of this sentence is something else, like a condition or a time or a reason, then you're looking at a subordinating conjunction introducing a subordinate clause, which just means a lesser part of the sentence. And so because it is not strictly part of the SVO structure, right? It's outside of the main sentence. You can therefore move it around. You can even move it between the subject and verb if you want to. So, for example, we, after the teacher left, went home. So this would be subject, and then you're inserting this part into the middle of the sentence. And that's perfectly fine because, okay, let's, where is this? Let's look at the syntax tree. Noun, verb, noun, preposition, determiner, noun, verb. Okay, so if you look at this syntax tree, might be a little small to see. Wow, why did it put it there? Hang on. It is a verb. Let's just for the sake of example, let's see if we can use an easier sentence. Noun, verb, noun, prep, determiner, noun, verb. Let's call this an adjective. Nope, it's an adverb. Wow, interesting. Anyway, so if we take this part, this is the subordinate clause over here, right? After the teacher fell asleep. You can move this entire thing to the front, no problem. But you can also move it between the subject and the verb, right? Because like the verb and its complement are together here. It's separate from the subject, so you can insert it in the middle, which is what I just did in the example. Here, right? We, and then you put it here after the teacher left, went home. So you can do some interesting stuff with subordinate clauses. And this brings us to the comma. Earlier, I said you would add a comma to tell the reader you have moved something. But really, what this comma is doing is saying that outside of the main sentence, this is kind of like extra information. It is not necessary to the grammar. It may be necessary to the meaning, but it's not necessary to the grammar, right? If you take this away, then this part is still a complete sentence. So it doesn't change the grammar, it just changes the meaning. Same thing when you put it in the middle, right? If you take this part out, we went home is still a complete sentence. It doesn't affect the grammar. So these two commas are kind of like supplemental commas or parenthetical commas. When you take these two commas together, the stuff in the middle is grammatically unimportant. It may affect the meaning, but it does not change the grammar. And English has three ways to add this kind of extra information. First one is with two commas. The second one is with parentheses. And the third one is with M dashes. I'm going to give it four dash. Okay, M dash. So these three all have the same structure. You are adding extra information in the middle that does not change the grammar, but you feel like the reader should have this meaning, so you add it in the middle. The parentheses tell the reader that this information is not really that important. The M dashes tell the reader that this information is very important. And in the middle is the comma. These two commas tell the reader this information is kind of important. So you can see how this comma is actually part of a pair. There is another comma in front of after. You just don't need it because it's the beginning of the sentence. Right? So this comma is the same as this comma, but since here we are in the middle of the sentence, you have to have the second comma. Okay, that's the end of the introduction. Do you have questions? Yes. Where are we? This one. One, two, one, two. No, this one is wait. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, right? Thank you. Yes. Correct. If you add something in the middle, you need two commas. Good. Other questions? All right, let's do some practice. Please go to page 3 of your handout. So this unit is from page 3 to page 5. If we don't finish during the class, the rest is homework. Page 3 to page 5. So page 3, these 5 ask you to insert the subordinating conjunction in the correct place in the sentence. It's 5 questions. I'll give you 3 minutes. You're free to talk with your classmates, use other resources, as long as you understand why the answer is that way. All right, let's compare answers. V. Yes, number 2. Where do we put the before? Okay, so before I go to bed. Anything else should we change? After. Okay, yes. So before I go to bed, comma, I always brush my teeth. Thank you. Let's see if I can find these on the list. Ah. Okay, number 3.傅里红, are you here? 傅里红在吗? No? 大定仪 also no. 杨洁瑜 吴鹏玉 邱宇恩 林子瑜 游幼云 Oh, I thought she would be here. 吴英娟 左品红 黄义婷 Okay, so let's call someone else. Liu Yuan, number 3. Okay, so you're adding it to the very front. Ever since I was a child, I've been interested in butterflies. Any other changes? Yeah, after adding ever since, should we change anything else in this sentence? So we don't need to add a comma? Well, ever since tells us the beginning time. So that's not the main part of the sentence, right? The main part of the sentence is, I've been interested in butterflies. So to separate the everything else from the main part, we have to add a comma. So it's ever since I was a child, comma, I've been interested in butterflies. Okay? Great. Number 4, 谢宗林. Okay, I'm going to meet some friends after I leave class today. Should we change anything else? No, good. Thank you. It begins with the main part of the sentence, so you do not need to add the comma unless the everything else part is not important, right? If you can add commas here to tell the reader this is less important, then if you want, you can also add a comma here to tell the reader that this is really not that important. But this is not required. It's an option. So in terms of grammar, you don't need a comma for number 4. And number 5, Liu Yuze. George, you here? Not here. Zhou Huiyun, number 5. Okay, can you say that again?
Oscar is going to go back.
Okay, so for number 6, where are you adding the next time? Okay, so your answer is the teacher speaks too fast, and the next time Oscar is going to ask her to slow down. Okay, well, there, it's close. Let's see what happens when we do that. Also, do you want to add like a comma or a period somewhere? Here, right? Okay, let's take a look at this. The teacher speaks too fast. The teacher is the subject, speaks is the verb, too fast is the adverb. So this is a complete sentence, yes? Next part, the next time is additional information. It's everything else. Oscar is the subject, is going to is the verb. Sorry, is going to ask is the verb. Her is the object, and then to slow down is the complement. So this is a complete sentence. Yeah? Well, you cannot put two complete sentences together using only one comma. You have a few options, and we will talk about these options much later in the semester, but you can use a comma and word like and. You can use a semicolon. You can use an em dash, or you can just have two sentences. But you cannot just have one comma. Um, let's say that this is your answer. You have separated this into two sentences. In the second sentence here, the subject is Oscar. So this is not the beginning of the main sentence. In fact, you have moved this from the back. It's a time. It's an everything else. So to show that you have moved things, you should add a comma here. Now, the problem with this is correct. This grammar is correct. But the problem is that for this question, you only can do one thing. You can only add this somewhere. You cannot separate sentences. So where should we put this to keep number 6 still one sentence? I think we can put it at the beginning. The next time the teacher speaks too fast, comma, Oscar is going to ask her to slow down. Do you think that makes sense? Okay, good, thank you. Finally, number 5. 管路人，管路人在吗？ No. 黄子田, number 5, please. Okay, so your answer is people speak English too fast when Oscar can't catch the meaning. So every time Oscar can't catch the meaning, people speak English too fast. Could there be a better answer? What if we put the when in front? When people speak too fast, Oscar can't catch the meaning. Do you think that's better? All right, so if we put the when in front, when people speak English too fast, the main part of the sentence begins with Oscar. Oscar is the subject, so we should add a comma here, right? Speak too fast, comma. All right. Pretty good, guys, pretty good. Let's continue. In the bottom half of this page, we have a dialogue. There are 5 mistakes. I'll give you 10 minutes to see if you can find 5 and only 5 mistakes. Like finding the mistakes is probably not the hard part. Fixing the mistakes is the hard part. I should probably tell you one more thing. So earlier I was hesitating over one of these examples, this example, right? I was saying maybe we're going to use a different example because in English, right, it looks like you can do this. But in English, there is a separate rule for words like only, sometime, or not sometimes, only, rarely, seldom, never, not, neither. These very negative, very rare frequency words. Words that express negativity or rare frequency. And the rule is you have to invert. Only when the bell rang did we have lunch. So when you begin with only or rarely or never or seldom, you have to do a movement from the main verb phrase to the T position. So now this one is, if you remember from the tree structure, it's T past, and then you have the pure verb left in this part of the sentence. So in the original sentence, had is the time and the verb. But if you have to invert because of negation or low frequency, you separate the time from the verb. Right? So this is past plus have. This is past. This is have. You have separated them. You might need to use this idea in this next set of practice questions. Okay. All right, let's see if you guys found 5 mistakes. The first line with A, 游泳人. So as soon as mom will gets here, no will. Okay, so as soon as mom gets here. Good. So delete the will and add an S to get. So as soon as mom gets here. Next one. B. Some part of B's 2 lines there. There's a mistake somewhere in the middle. Yang Peizhen. Okay, so you have noticed something interesting, which is there's actually 3 grammar problems in this sentence, but 2 of them are acceptable for spoken English. Only one of them is a really big error. So the spoken English errors are, the complete sentence should be, do you mean that mom, blah, blah, blah. But because it's spoken English, that part is fine. Did you find a bigger mistake? Yeah, because it's missing a that. Yeah, but so far that part is fine. The bigger problem is with the word even. In English, okay, in Chinese, we often say even, blah, blah, blah. But in English, one word even means emphasis. If you want to use the meaning we usually use in Chinese, you have to choose even though or even if. Even though is something that has already happened. It means although. If it has not yet happened, you need even if. And that is the case here. They have not yet explained it to their mother. This has not yet happened. So even if we give her a long explanation. The next line said by A, Mason. Thank you. Yes. So this sentence, the error is the positive and the negative are unbalanced. Unless means if we don't. So you need to either change unless to if. If we explain it slowly and carefully, she'll get the basic idea. Or you can change the will to won't. Unless we explain it slowly and carefully, she won't get the basic idea. Next one, said by B, 一平韩. Okay, if we can take an hour or so to explain it, then she'll get the overall picture. Do you want to add a comma somewhere? Explain it, comma. Good, that solves the problem. The problem is if you begin with only, you have to invert and separate the verb from the time. So one solution is don't use only. The other solution is to invert. So explain it, time, will, subject she, verb get. So currently it's she will get, but because you begin with only, the time has to come first. Explain it, will she get? And the last one before I let you take a short break. Wang Boquan. Wang Boquan 在吗？有来吗？ No， 曾安琪，曾安琪，傅彦树 ，last one。 Even though she might not understand everything, but she'll enjoy being with us. You found the mistake and you did not fix it. Where does the main part of the sentence begin? Where is the main subject? She, right? The sentence begins here. So this part in front is not the main sentence. It is a subordinate clause. How do you tell the reader that the sentence begins here? Good. Here, right? Everything, comma, she'll. If you add a but, that means you think that both halves are complete sentences and you're putting them together, which is not true. So everything, comma, she'll enjoy. Questions about this page? Okay. I'll let you take a whole 10-minute break. Please come back at 11:15. And during the break, you are welcome to keep going on the next page. Wang Xiantun, can you give us one mistake? Okay. How about paragraph 2, line 1? Do you see something wrong with this? This one. Paragraph 2, line 1. Sports are positive, although they get students involved in something. Which one? Although. Yeah, that seems wrong, right? So how can we fix it? If we change although, how should we change it? Can we replace it with a word? So what word can we use? Even though, that kind of means the same thing as although, right? Maybe we can change it to because, right? Sports are positive because they get students involved in something. Okay. Saya. Is Saya here? No? So Huiyu, yes. Can you give us another mistake? It can be anywhere in this essay. Okay, so here, paragraph 2, line 3, after you play, right? Not you'll. Good. Okay, thank you. Okay. Shu Borui, can you give us another mistake? Where? I didn't find you. Okay, how about here? Paragraph 2, last line. Commit a violent act even you want to. Is there something wrong with this part? Good. Even if you want to. In this essay, the author does not assume that you want to commit a crime, right? So it's not even though. It's in case you want to, not because you want to. So even if you want to. Good. Great. Wait, did I call on you today already? No, okay. Can you give us another mistake? Paragraph 3, okay. Sorry, where are you? Oh, worthwhile things. And then worthwhile. So the word worthwhile just means it's worth it, worthy. So in this case, this is correct. How about uh, paragraph 3, line 2? So the line that begins, learn to get along and work with others. Wherever their team wins, they learn how to be good winners. Is there a problem here? Thank you, yeah. The problem is with the word wherever. We're not talking about a place. We're talking about a time. So it should be whenever their team wins. In English, words that end with ever just means any. So whenever is any time. Wherever is any place. However is any way. So yeah, so when you can say however, and then something else that's opposite from the first half. You can also say anyway, something else. The meaning is very similar. There is one exception because English loves exceptions. There is one exception to using where, but not for a place. But I need to come up with an example for this. Um, so in this sentence, I need to come up with an example where I can explain the exception. If you really want to, you can think of this sentence as a place. But there's a more straightforward explanation of why we're using the word where. Because in English, sometimes the word where is actually the word wherein. And the word wherein means in which. So in this sentence, I can explain the meaning. So sometimes in can refer to a period of time. And so because of this, you might see where used for time or for other cases that are not places. Because it's not where, it's wherein. This word structure is actually quite interesting because you also have like wherefore, which means for which, whereof, which means of which. You start to see a pattern here. But usually where is a place. And in this case, we don't need a place, we need a time. So whenever. Okay, let's call on someone else. Hu Tingwei. Yes, can you give us another mistake? Okay, thank you. Yes. Here, the first line on the screen. When their team loses, comma, because the main sentence begins with they, right? They find out. Good. Kong Lianci, can you give us another? Are you here, Kong Lianci? Yeah, can you give us another mistake? Okay, how about here? The first line on the page or on the screen, the last line of this paragraph. Also, students improve their physical condition unless they participate in sports. Is there a problem here? Yeah, unless it's wrong. So how can we fix this? Yeah, we can change unless to if. So students improve their physical condition if they participate in sports. Another way to change this is to make the first half negative. Students will not improve their physical condition unless they participate in sports also works. But changing it to if is the fastest way. Thank you. Wang Dingyu, can you give us another mistake in this essay? Where? Where? Which line on the screen? 请问上第几行? This one? Degree and go on to a worthwhile job because school sports programs have some problems that need to be fixed. Okay, so where's the problem? Even though. Because change because to even though. Okay, yeah, because later it says their benefits outweigh their disadvantages. So it says because a bad thing, but a good result doesn't make sense. So it's two opposite directions, right? So if we change this to even though, it makes more sense. Even though school sports programs have some problems that need to be fixed, their benefits outweigh their disadvantages. Thank you. I keep calling on people and not being able to find their names again. 丁宇，你学号稍微念一下。Oh, 找到， I found you. I found you. Never mind. Never mind. Got it. Okay. Okundo, can you give us another mistake? Okay, so here, right? He will have a chance. So unless it's wrong, we can change this to if. If a young soccer player from a small village in Africa can get a scholarship, he will have. Okay, good. So changing the unless to if. Okay, there you are. How many have we caught so far? There should be 10. How many do we have left? How many? Okay, we need 3 more, right? Okay. I'll point them out to you after I call your name to help you along a little bit. 何雨涵，何雨涵来吗 No. 李星宇，李星宇 No. 刘千琪 Yes. Can you give us another mistake? Maybe this line somewhere. Somewhere here? Okay, yeah, sports are positive. They allow students, so they are going in the same direction. This can be changed to because. Good. Donington, can you give us another mistake? Actually, hang on. How many do we have left? Let me check. Uh, okay, I found one. Tingzhen, is there a problem with this sentence? Okay, so add a comma after loses. When their team loses, comma, because the main sentence begins with they. Wait, did we already say this one? Yeah, I think we already said this one, right? Yeah, sorry. Let's see if let's see if there's another one. Uh, huh. So it is already 10. You guys should tell me. Sorry, Tingzhen, you can have the next one. Okay, do you have other questions about this page? Okay, you guys need to get better at counting. I also need to get better at counting. Next page. Okay. This page is a little bit harder, so I will point out where a mistake might be, and you tell me where the mistake is and how to fix it. So, Tingzhen, somewhere here, there's a problem. Well, Ms. Ehrlich, that time of year has arrived again. But it's in this part. Okay, where? Add a comma where? After well. Okay, do we need another comma? Before that, because the beginning of the sentence is here. That time of year is the subject. So this part is extra information, and it's actually two pieces of extra information. You have the name, and then you have the attitude of the speaker, well. So it's well, comma, Ms. Ehrlich, comma. Usually in English, if you call somebody by their name, it's not essential information for the sentence. It's not essentially part of the grammar. So if you're talking to somebody and you use their name, it is usually put between two commas. Zheng Yixuan? Right, no comma here. I must think. Subject, verb, you don't need a comma here. Good. I just saw your name. Where did you? Okay, found you. Okay. Um, next one, Huang Xiaohan. Huang Xiaohan. Okay, so there is a problem with commas, but it's not here. Good. An employee of. You don't need a comma here. Han. Is Han here? Yes. Before and. Okay. First comma and most important, let me say. Okay, so yes, we do need a comma here. Do we need another comma? Where does the main sentence begin? It begins here, right? Let me say. Like, let's go home, right? The main sentence begins with let. Yes, so we need another comma here. Some people will say that this is one thing, first and most important. If you believe this is one thing, you only need a comma here. If you believe it's two things, you also need a comma here. Okay? Okay, good. Uh, 刘一婷，刘一婷 No. 林轩宇 No. 吴森 Oh, I remember this name. He was never here last semester, right? 陈雪颖 All right. Uh, is there a problem here? Good, comma here. The main sentence begins with I. So you need to add that comma before the I. 黄桂枝 Okay, let me give you a very small hint. This unit is called extra practice with commas. So there's going to be something wrong with commas. Do we need a comma here? There's no reason to have a comma here, right? You can have two long lunches, you can have one long lunch. There's no need to add this comma. The only time you need a comma between adjectives, two as an adjective, long as an adjective, the only time you need commas between two adjectives is if they are talking about the same quality. Two is a number, long is a length of time. These are different qualities. But if you say a long, hard lunch for some reason, I don't know what that means, but a long, hard lunch, then they're referring to the same quality. And you would need a comma, but not in this case. 邱人 邱人 No. 林彦真 Yeah, you don't need the comma. This is the subject. This is the verb. You don't need to separate them with a comma. 李永清 Should we add a comma somewhere? After toe ring. Good. The sentence begins with I. You can't see that. I. Right? The first half is a reason. It's a because. It's a reason. So to separate those two parts, you need a comma before the I. Good. The next one is a gimme. We already looked at this, right? Also, comma, Ms. Ehrlich, comma. Gabriella. Good. Upon means when something begins, it's also a condition or a time. The main sentence begins with I. So to separate the two, you need a comma before the I. Good. Uh, I'll give you the last few ones. You don't need a comma here. Hang on. You do need a comma. You need a comma here as well. Most experienced, most skilled is the same kind of quality. So as we were saying earlier, right? If you have two adjectives of the same quality, you need to separate them with commas. So most experienced, comma, most skilled employees. But these two are not the same quality. Number and necessity. 必要性. So you don't need a comma here. Okay, questions about this page? Great. Thanks to everyone's cooperation, we have finished the homework. You have no homework this week. See you next week.